Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated returning to you with a signed sponsorship agreement with the Up With The Stars submod. CPM saw my little joke at the start of the first episode and contacted me to negotiate a sponsorship deal worth vast quantities of Snickers bars. On an annual basis, he will transfer to me. I obviously can't go into the details of just how many Snickers bars I will be receiving, but vast quantities. Snickers bars are a rare delicacy in Ireland. Congratulations to you, if you get the reference. And a big thank you to Big Boy Roy, one of the artists with the Up With The Stars submod, who created a really cool version of their logo, an Irish version of the logo. So that'll get its first outing either on my next Kaiserreich series, or if the Up With The Stars submod comes out in the meantime, and we get a chance to look at some of the shenanigans with the Irish Americans. Speaking of shenanigans, and speaking of shenanigans with the Irish Americans, we'll zoom out for a second and wander in this direction. The Commonwealth of America is fighting the Dominion of Canada, which I don't know if I fully understood or not, has declared war on us. Canada is at war against the Irish Socialist Republic. And the other thing that I didn't fully realise, growing opposition in Northern Ireland. 18 days, an uprising will occur in Ulster. And we're beginning to see US soldiers, Commonwealth soldiers appearing. Maybe they know something that I don't. We will probably have to try and do something to actually aid our allies at some stage, as a lot of enemies continue piling into the war. The Entente has landed in Portugal, so I've just gotten the political power together to disrupt UVF preparations, but I have a feeling that they are too far advanced at this stage. Growing opposition in Ireland will potentially result in an uprising in 1 day's time. The loyal people of Ulster have risen against syndicalist and papist tyranny. You leave the Pope alone. Leave the Pope out of this. I think the Pope has as much love for syndicalist Ireland as you do. The National Guard have put aside their differences with the ICA and have joined together to wage a guerrilla war against the UVF, which has seized control of Northern Ireland. And this has caused a frenzy in the government, with fears of a potential Entente landing to reinforce their reactionary loyalist allies and acquire a base next to Great Britain. 6 counties, 6 divisions, 6 minutes. Oh, the Devils are moving for Donegal. What an absolute state of affairs. Na Cossanthori, this will be their first deployment. So we have Tom Barry's forces being sent to hold Leinster, and Frank Ryan will now have to extend, or it's been extended already, the front line to hold Donegal. I don't think there's anything else for it but to send in the troops. And of course the worst thing is that we did actually get some land defences built in this region. The outskirts of Belfast are holding on well by the looks of it. And we actually have Union of Britain forces now attacking the outskirts of Belfast, and we have some naval vessels wandering around the outskirts as well. So from the looks of it, Irish forces are indeed being pushed back by the UVF on the outskirts of Belfast. They're bringing more forces through. Now the good news is that we have managed to cut off Donegal, and I think we're seeing hats being thrown up in the air, and we have surrounded Belfast. And I think we're actually seeing French troops arriving. So Kingdom of France has landed in Belfast. And they are just in time to be thrown back out into the Irish Sea in what I am hoping will be the final assault on Belfast. I'm going to appoint Michael J. Costello to command the army. I saw a fascinating story recently about Costello. He was sent with anti-aircraft weapons to Shannon during the emergency when the German embassy attempted to bring in extra staff. So the German embassy remained open in Dublin, throughout the Second World War, and they tried to bring in extra staff, and the government rejected that and sent Costello with orders to shoot anything if it attempted to land at Shannon. So Costello is now... he holds something like the world record for the fastest forced march in a time of peace. I'm not too sure. It's an interesting record. The claim is that he predicted Blitzkrieg in a copy of Unkosentor, the Irish Defence Forces magazine, that he predicted Blitzkrieg. I have to check if there's a biography of him at some stage. He's a fascinating character. Go up out of it, you divils. There go the French. And there goes the uprising. Lads, where the hell were ye going with 19 guns? Nearly 40 weapons is what they had in total. Where the hell were you going with that? Thanks for the fuel, though. William O'Brien has announced that the cowardly Northern Irish nation could no longer withstand the pressure from the overwhelming pressure of Irish forces throughout the country. The Northern Irish government chose to flee the country and has gone into exile. Away off with ye. Get out of it. Although we are still terrified of an Entente invasion, Tom Barry is being sent back to Spain to assist in bringing the war in Portugal to an end. I think they're actually having a bit of trouble. So hopefully our forces will arrive. We have a convoy escort set up. And Tom Barry's forces arrive safely to defend in the Porto region. I don't think we're going to be able to do a huge amount, but hopefully we will tie down some forces in the north and allow for pushes by the Spanish forces in the south. I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this. Things are looking awkward in the Commonwealth of America. The Pacific States has pushed out a good chunk to the north on the Canadian border. However, they've lost a good chunk down around here. And they've also managed, now clouded by fog and smoke, but they've managed a naval invasion as well. But you know what? Things aren't actually looking too bad. I was thinking about trying to send forces over here, but the chances of being intercepted were 100%. I've gotten a few naval focuses or military focuses done. I purchased artillery licenses for an off-map factory. I bolstered the Coast Guard, and now I'm going to establish the Cork Naval College. It's going to give me 2 naval dockyards, and for some reason, since the invasion of Northern Ireland, all of my naval dockyards have disappeared. So we can't actually build any naval units at the moment. Unfortunately, Ireland hasn't been of tremendous assistance in Portugal. Our hopes that we could tie down some troops in the north has succeeded, but unfortunately, Portugal has been pushing out successfully against Spain. We've gotten the Naval College up and running, which gives us 2 naval dockyards. It doesn't make much of a difference because I don't have the manpower to shove into the submarines anyway. So what I'm going to do is wander back to this side of the tree and go for institutionalize Mehel. So the Mehel is a kind of a social contract in rural Ireland where when a farmer would have been saving hay, which would have been one of the big tasks, especially prior to mechanization, prior to the introduction of tractors and things like this, all of the other farmers in the surrounding area would basically come around and help them. And in turn, as each of the other farmers needed help, that individual would then go and help them. So it was a kind of a community effort. And of course, if you didn't return the favour, well, the next year, they wouldn't come back to you and you'd be in a lot of difficulty. So institutionalise Mehel. We're going to take this kind of social contract and get factories. I think this is a good thing. It is indeed. And fair play to them, just after taking Sacramento, the Commonwealth of America has also taken Havana. So things are progressing in the former United States a lot better than they are in Europe. Belgium has been pushing into the Commune of France. And Italy... oh, Italy. The Mehel has been institutionalised. We have completed everything that we can for Labour and the Progressive Labour Party. We have defeated an uprising in Northern Ireland. We are assisting our allies in Spain. We're on the verge of taking Porto. And William O'Brien is going to carry out a propaganda coup and declare the independence of the Irish Socialist Republic from the Union of Britain. So a full frontal assault on Porto succeeded, which was a bit surprising. They had to pull troops out, I think possibly to defend against a failed naval invasion by Spain down here in the south, but they had to pull some forces out, and it gave us the opportunity to march into Porto. In 54 days, we will have secured Northern Ireland. We've taken Porto. Things are looking good in the United States, and I think that deserves a feed of pints, beer for bread. We're going to gain base war support, so it stayed stable at 54%. We'll gain some stability, and we'll gain some support equipment for 75 political power. In the Commonwealth of America, it's taking them a bit of time to finish off the Pacific states. However, they have pushed into the Dominion of Canada. I don't know if we'd ever be in a position to completely empty out the army, send Frank Ryan as well to Spain, but we could see about getting a few more forces together and sending them if the Dominion of Canada was defeated and if we were spared the threat of an Entente invasion. The 12th of July 1940, and how things have changed. The recent crushing of their rebellion by the Irish state has become a deep humiliation for loyalism, as the contrast between the greatest heights of their power and their present circumstances couldn't be more stark. So we see a couple of updates, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference because we will secure Northern Ireland in 28 days. The hatchet has been buried in a grand declaration put forward by the Irish and British governments, as well as attended by representatives of other members of the Third Internationale. Lads, do you not have anything better to be doing right now than coming to Ireland for a declaration? It's been many months since the events of March 1938, when the Socialists, with the support of the British comrades, managed to rally the people to oust the reactionary military dictatorship that itself had overthrown the previous Irish government. Ireland is now free. We serve neither king nor Kaiser, but Ireland. And unlocking the Ruby Isle and Irish independence now gives us a very small focus tree to go down. The needs of the many will give us some much needed stability and monthly population growth, but I'm going to take this initiative first of all to invite experts from the Commune of France and give us an extra research slot. In North America, the Pacific states continues to hold on. However, there has been a severe Commonwealth incursion into the Dominion of Canada. Meanwhile, things aren't going great in the war against Portugal. We've made a few pushes across the river after taking Porto. However, in the south, they have extended out, taken Seville, and recently a Kingdom of France naval invasion in this region was defeated, so that's good at the very least. Now, I can't actually remember if I got him automatically or if I appointed him, but Father Michael Flanagan is a government minister giving us political power gain, recruitable population factor, and some stability. We also have Owen Sheehy Skeffington, and I was going to appoint his mom for the political power gain, the recruitable population factor, and the research speed. However, with the way things are going at the moment, Jack White, you adventurous daredevil, will give us army experience gain, division recovery rate, and some extra war support. Now, I'm not using the war support at the moment, but there are a number of IRA initiatives that require war support. So one would be increased weekly manpower, and the other would be factory output and construction speed. So if I ever wanted those, I'd actually need to start spending some army support or war support, and I don't have a ton of it. Following their uprising, we've managed to secure Northern Ireland, so we can now go back to placating the nationalists and allaying loyalist fears to get rid of the last bit of malice that we have in the region. And we receive the fantastic news that King Edward flees the Dominion of Canada, with the situation in the Dominion growing more dire by the moment. King Edward and the royal family have fled along with high-ranking exiles to Australia. He can run, but he can't hide. And also the Dominion of India has capitulated. We've invited experts to Ireland, giving us an extra research slot. What I'm going to do is, for the first time in a very long time, start to work on the Irish economy. I think we're going to try and expand the Cork Ford complex, so this is going to give us a decision to add a civilian factory to Munster. Further good news, the Italian Republic has capitulated. There was an event a number of years ago, I'm not too sure how long ago, it might have been during the reign of King Tony Blair, where Irish representatives visiting the British government were brought into a room under a picture of Oliver Cromwell, not the most admired of figures in Ireland. Well, he's causing quite a lot of embarrassment here, because the British, I think, have just unveiled 5 great statues to him. So the Irish government is criticising the British for their admiration of Cromwell, and how can they claim to be friends to Ireland when they honour such an infamous general. Thankfully, he hasn't returned from the grave. That's the only good thing. Down with murder. Some more good news on the war front. The Pacific States of America have capitulated, and now the Commonwealth of America is able to devote its full forces to defeating the Commonwealth of Canada and possibly arriving in Europe. 'Cause yeah, we could do with some help over here. Now, I was just saying that we could do with help over here from the United States. Maybe we don't need help. The Commune of France has just annexed Belgium and the Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. Considering the way things are going at the moment, we can start to concentrate again on our economy and building up the state, so the needs of the many will decrease. Political power gain would give us some monthly population and weekly stability. And truly tonight there will be pints drank and statues of Oliver Cromwell ripped down in Ireland. The Commonwealth of America has annexed the Commonwealth of Canada, the Australian Commonwealth, and the West Indies Federation. As sobbing widows bury their dead husbands and sons, the last traces of the old regime are being swept away by the American Revolution, headed by the Combined Syndicates of America. The old capitalist system is being dissolved and replaced with an organisation similar to that of France and Britain and Ireland as well. For truly, this final victory belongs to Ireland. After centuries of tyranny across the globe, the British Empire has finally breathed its last. Needless to say, up and down the island, the streets of every town and city, most towns and cities, have been thronged with celebrators cheering Ireland's final victory over their mortal foe after 700 years. Loyalists, on the other hand, have by contrast been plunged into a state of abject horror and despair, while a minority now see no choice but to come sort of accommodation with the Irish government. For the majority, the collapse of the monarchy they hold dear has only intensified their loathing. It all comes tumbling down. I hope now the Americans remember the couple of weeks that Tom Barry spent in Miami and come to help us with this war in Europe. But regardless, I think that's pretty much lifted the fears of an Entente invasion. We're no longer getting the threat up here in the corner. I have now started using the Navy to patrol these 2 areas. There is still a threat of an invasion, a naval invasion of Scotland. And the Air Force, I don't know if I've actually done it properly, but I'm now sending them to this region to help with air superiority and naval strikes. And it is entirely possible, if we could get some manpower together, that we could deploy Frank Ryan to Spain. So there is a red dawn in Washington. The red flag flies above Washington, D.C. And Ireland and America shall stand together in the fight against imperialism once more. So an increase to our political power, radical socialism and social democracy. The Socialist Republic of Italy has defeated the Italian Republic and is now in a position to devote itself entirely to the war against the Vatican. I gave out about them a while ago, and even a few moments ago I said that Italy were now in a position to completely concentrate on fighting the Vatican. Well, they have pushed up and they have taken Munich in a surprise attack. I was not paying any attention to this front line. Anytime I came over, I was checking this one. There's even been a substantial push here over the last while. So things are beginning to look very bad for the Reichspakt all of a sudden. And with that, I think we have completely finished off our political tree. There is nothing over here flashing. There are absolutely no other options for us. We have secured the needs of the many. And it's going to take a while, but I'm going to start to push towards a red Washington so that we can be close allies with the Commonwealth of America. So we need to start up here at Uncogadera, which will give us some stability and some war support. And I was checking to see if maybe the Americans had shown up, but I'm wondering if they're needed. There's been a massive push to the north, and it's continuing without interruption. Hanover has been taken. Munich has actually been retaken, but the Italians have now marched on Stuttgart. And Russia... yeah, Russia. The Kuga has been derred. Chukiger law. We will exalt republicanism, political power and base stability. And if all goes well... I was just about to say, if all goes well, look at the priorities that we have. If all goes well, we're going to encircle 8, maybe 10 divisions. Berlin has fallen. Stop interrupting me with unimportant news. Look at this for a mad push that the Commune of France made through the territories it took in Belgium and the Netherlands and pushed on Berlin. I think Munich has, or the German Empire has actually pushed out and retaken a bit more land around Munich. The Italians still haven't taken it back, but they're pushing up and have met the Commune of France. So Switzerland enveloped in a big syndicalist hug. But forget about Berlin, we have indeed carried off that encirclement of a handful of troops. This is where the war will be won. Boys, oh boys, who needs the Americans when you have the Italians and the men of Carlo? So we're now 4 points short, 4 percentage points short of 100% stability, considering that we were at minus 100% stability at one stage. That's pretty impressive. We will go for worker solidarity, modify brothers in arms by off-map civilian factories +1. I don't have the men to fly them, but you know what? I won't say no. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, we may have gotten a bit too ahead of ourselves, a bit too overconfident. And indeed, the Americans have seen that we were having trouble in Lisbon. They have landed, but you know what? They're taking the scenic route to Berlin, I think. Nuclear fission, you say? We saw US forces arrive in Spanish-occupied Portugal there a while back and completely ignore the scenario and ignore us. We, however, will be a bit too needy and clingy and try to become close allies with the Commonwealth of America. Munich has fallen again. The German Empire is entering far more wars than it's actually in a position to fight. Its actual empire has been split down the middle. We have strengthened our bond with the United States, increased research speed for infantry weapons, which I'm pretty much up to date with, and transport models, which I have not touched at all. We're still using horses. The only horses we ever had, we lost in Portugal. We've gained reputation with them. I could go for General Hock's return, gain an extra assignable trait for Jack White, who's on the High Command, and Frank Ryan, who's stuck in Ireland. But I'll hold off on that for a while and instead return to our economy. It feels like a bit of a waste now to go for research bonuses for industry and electronics, because again, I'm pretty much up to date with all of those. But I could have had an advantage if I'd gone down this route earlier. Now there is very hefty military factory, civilian factory bonuses if we get to the bottom, and there's also, where's the Dublin Institute gone to? There we go. So an extra research slot, and I've heard some German spies talking about nuclear fission, whatever that is. I think for now, we'll probably go for orbit expansion. We'll probably try and finish off the actual industrialization tree. Surely it is only a matter of time before the German Empire is utterly defeated, before the Norwegian Socialist Republic takes Sweden, and Ireland avenges the loss of its 2 horses by seizing Lisbon. Up with the stars, more like up with the hammers and sickles. Syndicalism now rules the world, and Ireland had a role to play in its rise by being overthrown by the Irish army and needing the British to help us out. In the next episode, I imagine we're going to see an end, a swift end, to the Weltkreig and the introduction of an era of peace and prosperity for all of mankind. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and I hope that you will join me on the next one, because I need someone to fly these damn planes.